And so you went to Russia to stir up hatred against Jews?
I'm so sorry. What are you referring to?
Look who you deliberately made a trip to Russia to interview someone who is one of the most anti-Semitic people around. Is it just to be controversial? Is that, do you find that funny?
What part? Yeah, I do find it funny that you are accusing me of taking a trip to Russia to stir up hatred around Jews when I don't think Jews came up once during my interview with Alexander Dugin. I don't know where you're getting that from. And once again, Steve Peikin conducted an interview with him. I guess you would have to make the same anti-Semitic accusation against TVO.
Ms. Southern, his views are well known, and you deliberately went there, so you're basically trying to create chaos. Funny thing is, that's what they say Russia does with all the things that they do, is try to create chaos in society. So it sounds like your goal is to try and create chaos, and I don't get the sense that you have a lot of respect for Western liberal democracy as it is. So anyway, that's my time, Chair.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Samoff.
That was addressed earlier. You said that Tenant Media gave you a $275,000 US dollar budget, and your take home was about 100,000 Canadian. That's what you earned for yourself. Yes. Thank you. Did anybody at any time ask you to reimburse that money when Tenant was closed, when there were allegations? Did you meet any by the RCMP or CSIS or any type of security service that you met further to that?
So I have not been asked to reimburse any of that money, but I have been visited by CSIS, who quite frankly have been putting immense psychological pressure on me to become an informant on this subject and other subjects. Ultimately, I declined because I'm not looking to become an asset for foreign governments nor this government, and I did not like the way in which they threatened and stalked me. And I would like to know how much Canadians paid for that, by the way.
Je vous remercie. Thank you. In the UN reported last September, in February 22, that Russia had begun an illegal war on Ukraine. There were more than 11,000 civilians killed and many other thousands that were injured. That's a lot of people. What would you think about being an agent for this type of country that would wage this type of war on another country? Does not that put you ill at ease?
You will never catch me speaking ill of the Ukrainian people. They are good people, and it is horrific what is happening to them and the losses that are happening to their community. And I hope that the suffering they are going through ends, and I hope that the Ukrainian people will be free. I do not and have never wanted to be an agent of any state, an asset of any state, foreign or domestic, and I have always, at any inkling that that is happening, have run the other way.
Merci. Mr. Johns for 2.5 minutes.
I really only have one burning question left, and that's, do you take any steps whatsoever to verify that the people paying you are legitimate and don't have ulterior motives?
This would not be a question being asked of any individual working in media, if not for the retrospect of this situation. I've had contracts, I've worked with many individuals. They have all looked the same as Tenet, and they have never come up with this problem. This is a very unique circumstance. And once again, I think the eyes of retrospect are playing heavy on your questioning.
Well, I think given the situation and that you're under that Tenet's been under investigation with the U.S. government, I think it does qualify as a reasonable question.
If you think that there was a action I should have or could have taken that the average person would normally do, please do let me know, Mr. Johns.
Will you take any, in the future, will you be doing any significant efforts to ensure that that the people are paying you are legitimate and don't have ulterior motives? Is this something that you're going to incorporate into your future business model?
I have always worked very hard to ensure that the things I am doing are legitimate, that I'm not being influenced by anyone. I've lost jobs over this. Now, there is a lot of money, as I'm sure you know, probably not the majority coming from Russia, probably more from China, other countries, going into politics, going into media, going into influencing what people think. The way I protect myself from that, because it is a completely messed up and influenced media organization system going on right now, ecosystem, is I only sign contracts with people who give me full creative control, because right now in this environment, that is the only way to protect yourself. If you are ever working for an organization that has creative control over you, you're going to find yourself in hot water. And quite frankly, that is the majority of media outlets within this country too.
Okay. So right now, you're telling us right now that you're not going to take any different steps to ensure that the people that are paying you are legitimate and don't have ulterior motives?
The steps I'm taking is I'm not going to work in media again, because I am tired of this subterranean Fed level nonsense going on. And I would like to just go on with my normal life as a Canadian, not being harassed by CSIS or the government or you people.
You had indicated that that you always put significant efforts into making original and thoughtful videos, and that your contract gave you full editorial control. You've made that very clear today. Now, have you ever been compensated to endorse a specific idea?
No.
On anything?
No.
From anywhere?
No.
Have you ever received information or from another organization, an individual, or a government for you to share that on your social media platforms?
No, other than like not paid for. I've certainly had lots of people send me, hey, share this tweet. I just did an interview, share this. Like, that's a very normal thing to happen in media.
I don't know how much time I have left, but two thoughts from your answers to other questions. You indicate that when you were in Russia, you had concerns about some other interviews you had done, and you chose not to broadcast or release those interviews, and you didn't explain why.
There was an individual that had told me they could set up interviews in Russia for me. And initially I was excited about this because they were able to get access to quite prominent figures. But as things went on, they were pushing me to do content and work, which once again, I don't, if anyone I feel is pushing me to share ideas, I push back, including, quite frankly, they were trying to get me to go and do a film on the Donbass region before in 2018. I found this strange. Obviously, I didn't know there was going to be an invasion that would happen at any point, but being offered all access to that area, military access, seemed suspicious to me, and I rejected doing the film, and I deleted all the other interviews that I conducted, or refused to publish them, rather, that was in connection with this individual.
Thank you for that clarity. In my final moments, you made a very direct and scathing comment about the current, your opinion of the current media landscape in this country. Can you expand on that a little bit? Obviously, there's, and other people have concerns as well. So can you expand on what you're referring to in your description?
I have been doing YouTube for 10 years. When I started doing YouTube, it was individuals that were interested in sharing their opinions and beliefs without compensation, that genuinely cared about issues. Over the past 10 years...
What I'm referring to is you talked, to Mr. John's question, you talked about receiving compensation, and you made reference to the media outlets that exist today,
Yes.
The national media outlets, receiving compensation from potentially places in this globe that are hostile to our democracy in Canada.
Yes, what I was getting to is I believe there is a, I would have to give a written response later with the details, but based on
Could
my
you
time,
please?
sorry?
Could you?
Yes, I can. Based on the time I've spent in media, over those 10 years, I believe that a large majority of content is being influenced both from corporations, domestic government, foreign government, being paid for. I would say that even half the contributions, likes, and views on content are now all botted, not legitimate, genuine views. They're being astroturfed. And this is part of the reason that I am personally stepping away from my partaking in social media myself, because I don't believe that a lot of the internet we are engaging with today are real people. It is very different. You can feel it if you spent time on the internet 10 years ago.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Motz.
American law enforcement about your role in the Russian-run tenant media op, given the U.S. indictment?
Yes, as I mentioned, CSIS came to my house while I was making dinner for my child and tried to speak with me, but did so in a way that I was not comfortable with. And I have also, quite frankly, experienced quite a bit of harassment and stalking from them. When I told them I did not want to speak, they called me dozens and dozens of times. They found my gym. They told me that if I did not essentially become an informant for them, that I love being a mother, I love my child, and I would love to see him grow up and be there to provide for him, and it would be a shame if something happened to me. So I'm not too impressed with the state of law enforcement in this country right now, to be honest.